Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from the Frontier. Thank you for stopping by. I'm always grateful. You must excuse my casual attire, but I was feeling a little bit tired this morning, so I just thought I'd just come in casual attire. So that's my excuse. Macro thoughts. I go back to something I wrote on the 25th of August 2014 when I said navigating financial markets amid global turbulence. And I said picking up the signal through the noise of our world in 2014 is no easy thing, and I think it applies to 2015 as well. In fact, my view is the new normal is a very arrhythmic world. When I plugged arrhythmia into my computer, it threw this up. For years, he'd been studying the phenomenon of chaos, of which an arrhythmic heartbeat was a perfect example. Holger tweeted his chart of the day yesterday, the VVIX volatility on VIX, which has printed all-time highs, even higher than during the Lehman crisis. Again, another historic day. Dow closed up 600 points after yesterday's meltdown, third biggest gain in history on a late-day jump. And the point I'm making is this is the arrhythmia I was speaking about. And then I like this photograph from Getty Images. An investor watches the stock market plunge in Shanghai. Home thoughts. I'm still thinking back to that break I had down on the south coast, which was so enjoyable. We were down in Diani, and somebody asked me about it yesterday, and I took a photograph just outside where we were staying. And they have a great staff in the house. It's called Watano House, and a stellar cook called Zaidi. Jonathan Lebov, Kenyan javelin thrower, doesn't have a coach, learned how to throw javelin on YouTube, wins gold at wins gold at the World Championships, and what a star he's proven to be. According to Sarah Word, Martin Scorsese will direct a Macbeth movie. I was remembering Macbeth. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day, to the last syllable of recorded time, and all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, out, brief candle. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. I took this photograph yesterday afternoon of the moon, let me share it to you, and again return to Macbeth. Stars, hide your fires, let not light see my black and deep desires. Political reflections. The chief of the pro-Saudi Yemeni forces says Sana'a will be captured within days. And my conclusions are, if you see demons everywhere, like the kingdom sees the Ayatollah, then you are going to spend your time fighting a kind of invisible enemy for no good reason. Let me put up a tweet that Middle East Eye put out. Yemen, the capital, is a ticking bomb. With all those reservations that we have, we will sign this document, he told African leaders who had gathered in Juba. Deal follows months of on-off negotiations hosted by Ethiopia and several broken ceasefire agreements. Rebels said they captured a town south of Juba on Wednesday after their troops were attacked, and that there had been another bout of fighting with government forces. Kiir told the ceremony that rebels launched a raid in the north of the country earlier in the day. Now you can see who is for peace and who is for continued war, the president said. Kiir gave a document to regional leaders listing his concerns. Mediators have said Kiir had voiced concerns about a demand that Juba become a demilitarized zone, and conditions that he consult the first vice president on policy. At the ceremony, Kiir said he had faced intimidation during the peace process and added negotiations were carelessly handled by regional and world leaders, saying a poor agreement could backfire on the region. I concluded by saying, hardly a ringing endorsement. Clearly, Salva sees it in a very binary way. I win, you lose, I win kind of thing. Uhuru Kenyatta tweeted Salva Kiir of South Sudan today appended his signature to a peace agreement to end the conflict, and rather a good photo as well, I thought. Let me put up a photograph of the River Nile that I took many years ago in Juba. Samira Solani tweeted, and this is interesting because you sometimes don't get the flavor of these comments. President Museveni, speaking in South Sudan, says the UN preserves terrorism and that South Sudan should get outsiders like the UN out. I think that would be a recipe for disaster. Navsteva tweeted, Putin and Sisi call for a broad anti-IS, anti-terrorism coalition to include Syria. And a lovely photograph, I must say, of the meeting. And I thought to myself, well, Sisi prefers to keep his options open, something he probably feels Mubarak did not. The average temperature for Africa was the second highest for July on record, behind only 2002. Regional record warmth across much of eastern Africa into central areas of the continent. And then saying other areas across the world's ocean surfaces also experience record warmth or much warmer than average conditions, including all of the Indian Ocean. And let me put up a photograph of the Indian Ocean seen from Botano. And NASA is chipping in as well, saying warming seas rising faster than predicted. Global sea levels are rising faster than predicted as a result of warming temperatures driven by burning fossil fuels, according to researchers who now say an increase of at least 3 feet is likely unavoidable. That's pretty dramatic. I'll put up a photograph of Pemba Island, which is on the Indian Ocean. China has accused 11 Tianjin government and port officials of negligence in connection to explosions that killed 139 people. Let me put up a photograph that George Chen put out, which is of China's deadly Tianjin blast. Currency markets all over the place. Euro now 112.86, dollar index higher, Japanese yen 120.27, Swissy 0.9531. The pound is at 154.86. Let me tell you where the Aussie is, but that's all over the place. 0.7154, India rupee 66. The figure, South Korean 111.8432, Real 359.61. Egyptian pound 783.27 and the rand 1309.16. Let me put up a 3-month chart of the dollar. Very bifurcated, very strong against commodity currencies, but has given up some ground, though it's taking it back again against the majors. Euro dollar 112.83, coming back to where it was when it all kicked off. And as I said, the Australian dollar, let me put up a 1-year chart, very bearish about the Aussie dollar. I think it's going a lot lower still. Commodity markets, gold was last trading at 11.28. You remember I said I thought it could rebound to 11.50. It did. It went over, but it's back down below that again. Oil, Brent and NYMEX have had a huge rally, more than 4% since they closed yesterday. I'll put up a 3-month chart of crude oil, massive rebound overnight and into the morning. Michel Chossudovsky was an interesting chap, a little bit of a conspiracy theorist, but there's a video he's put together where he's basically saying China's financial markets carefully rigged instruments of stock market manipulation. Do have a look if you have a second. There is some truth in it, but sometimes I think people over-egg it instead of making the point. And I do think President Obama's team are specialists at oil, currency, cyber warfare in a way that's really quite breathtaking. Sub-Saharan Africa, the oil importing countries should have at least been resilient. This is Samir Gadio of Standard Chartered PLC in an interview that he's given. And he's making an important point, particularly someone like Kenya, where you've had this halving of an oil price. We should have been getting a good boost coming out of that, people having some money in their pockets. We haven't had it. The transmission has been muddied, and it's a very poor show, because it might mean that the economy slows even further, and it's been decelerating for 5 quarters. Interesting piece in the Mail and Guardian. Africa spurning America, fled into China's arms. Now the US may hold the cure to the continent's fast-dipping economy. A good article, well worth a read. Sub-Saharan Africa, China is the largest trade partner, accounting for around 1/8 of all trade. The impact, however, will be concentrated in 5 countries which account for 3/4 of all Africa's exports to China: Angola, DRC, Equatorial Guinea, Republic of Congo, and South Africa. According to some article in Reuters I saw, thus far there are only 7 cargoes with Angolan crude going to term buyers, compared to 12 to 15 in the past months, indicating how poor demand remains. IMF is saying GDP is projected to average 3.5% a year, 2015-2016, that's Angola again. And I wrote about the pressure that's coming on these petro-states when I wrote on the 10th of August, the end is nigh for crude oil producers from Caracas to Luanda, from Riyadh to Abuja. Wal-Mart's Massmart reported the profit dropped 26% on currency pressure. They're saying in the rest of Africa, when they brought the money back into the rand, they took a hit. However, Woolworths, which is another retailer, reported very strong numbers today. South African oil share fell 1.27% yesterday. It's down 2.835% year to date. Dollar rand, when I looked last, things move around a lot, was at 13.09. The Egyptian stock market is down 23% year to date. Nigerian oil share down 18.812% year to date, both probably going low, I'm afraid. And the Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index is down 5.04% year to date. Returning to Kenya, Total Kenya reported full year profit after tax declined 16.7%. Gross sales were down 29.1%. Gross profit down 5.4%. Profit after tax down 16.7%, EPS first half down 17%. Sales volumes decreased by 4%, but obviously the headline number is much lower because prices paid were probably considerably lower. Company retained an inland market leadership position at 20%. Macro environment remains challenging, they said. I think in part the sharp sales slowdown of 29.1% is due to the lower price structure, and clearly they've backed off bulk wholesale business. It's a cheap stock and good value in my view. Crown Berger reported a 77.1% drop in profit after tax. Revenue up 15.2%, interestingly, but profit after tax down 77.1%. Profit before tax declines by 42% as a result of regional expansion impact, a decline in the shilling value. Foreign exchange losses have also affected our performance. Board expects a positive outlook for the second half. South African logistics firm acquires 30% in Kuehne Nagel, Kenya. Nairobi all share closed at a fresh 18-month low. It's been a brutal week, down 14.404% year to date, but I think we might be trying to base out here. NSE 20 closed at a 32-month low, fell 1.68%. It's down 18.411% year to date. I like this quote from the Deputy President: "Gone are the days when the safari was the exclusive domain of the wealthy Western tourist. We're looking at growing the pie from the African continent." This is the Kenya Tourism Board MD. "We consider the regional market very crucial. We cannot ignore it." Just to go back to the Nairobi Stock Exchange, volatility levels in international markets remain sky high. All eyes remain on China, where the markets are reminding the Chinese leadership of that famous adage that Mrs. Thatcher liked repeating: "You cannot buck the markets." China contagion has infected global markets, and on Monday the Dow Jones experienced the single largest intraday fall ever. Commodity prices have retreated. Crude fell below 40, back above it. Let's see if it can hold it. And the China growth correlated slowdown is going to be felt real bad in places like Zambia and in the oil producers. Nairobi oil share slumped a further 2.35% yesterday. Been a brutal week at the exchange. NSE 20 retreated 1.68%, as I said. There were only 4 shares that appreciated in price, 35 depreciated. give you an example of what the market looked like. Uchumi was the top gainer on the news that Mr. Zschaepitz has been poached to be the CEO. Traded as high as 8 during the session. Safaricom, which retreated 3.58% yesterday, is on the bounce, and it might well be an early signal that the market is now finding its footing. The big caps look extremely good value at these prices because they've borne the brunt of the sell-off, particularly because people have perceived those to be soft as the international conditions softened, and there's the biggest component on the shareholder register is international investors. So just worth bearing that in mind. Once again, thank you for stopping by.